This channel is not political. It is a silly slop blue hedgehog channel where I ramble about Sonic products and Sonic games and usually get 80% of the information correct and 20% of the information wrong, and then all of you hardcore Sonic fans grill me in the comment section below. I think it's actually a pretty fair exchange where I make you free content and you can point and laugh at me like an entertainment monkey. Needless to say, what I'm going to cover today is bordering on the political just because it involves a movie studio that is housing the Sonic the Hedgehog movie franchise. So there is a little bit of overlap. If that triggers you too much, if you are too, done with the whole political scene right now, then I completely get it. This might not be the video for you. I am not nonpartisan when it comes to this. I am a very pro-democracy, pro-constitution, so I just want that to be out there for you guys to know. I am not going to censor my beliefs or opinions just because of potential backlash. I just am going to shoot it from the cuff and let you know the information that I have and what I think is good and not good as it relates to Sonic the Hedgehog. Because this is OCDsaster Blue, my Sonic exclusive channel where everything we do here is Sonic related. So if that sounds like something your speed, consider subscribing and checking out some other videos after this one. Today we are talking about the one, the only Skydance Paramount Studios, or Paramount Studios, a Skydance company. For those of you that are unaware, Paramount was acquired by Skydance, which is owned, or at least the CEO is David Ellison, son of Larry Ellison. And if that name doesn't sound familiar to you, Larry Ellison is the richest man. He beat out our favorite Tesla-loving meme lord Elon Musk, and he is the richest person. And on top of that, he just acquired things such as TikTok, and he is very close to our favorite orange raisin in the Oval Office. So there is definitely some conflict of interest there. There has been a love triangle going on between Paramount, Netflix, and Warner Brothers, as Warner Brothers was up for sale. Now, bear with me because it gets a little bit complicated. Essentially, Netflix wants to purchase Warner Brothers and then basically still have Warner Brothers do its own thing. Netflix would be a streaming company. Warner Brothers would continue its movie operations and HBO content. There might be some cross there where, like the DC Studios portion will go to Netflix and stuff like that. But for the most part, Netflix claim that they're going to keep these entities somewhat separate, even though they're owned by the same league, and then they would completely sell off the broadcasting side of it. Whereas Paramount wants Warner Brothers and wants the whole package, wants the whole thing. And the issue with that is, when you think about it, if you have someone that's very close to the administration and is already owning TikTok, and there's already a flux to one side of the political spectrum, and they then own a whole new broadcasting network that is usually left-leaning, because I believe it's MSNBC or something like that, then you now have more control over the narrative, more control over the public media and the news network, and to me, that is very, very scary. So Paramount offered to buy Warner Brothers, then Warner Brothers said, hold up, let there be other suitors, other bidders to come in and try. So it was between Paramount, then Netflix, and then also Comcast, I believe. All three of them were in the race, to which I believe, I might get this a little bit wrong, Warner Brothers said, okay, we're going to take another offer, but this isn't final say. Give us your offer, we'll take a look at it, and then we'll go from there. So round 2 went through, and they decided to go with Netflix, believing that Paramount did not have the money or the backing that they claimed to, because it wasn't all in writing. And there's some other business stuff on the back end where the Ellisons are having some trust and other business stuff go through, so they just weren't financially backing enough. They might have put more money per shares, but then Also, Warner Brothers sees that if they're going to be separating that entire part, the entire broadcasting arm, they could get a completely separate sale from that. So that would make more sense, because if they gave it to Netflix, then Netflix would only get the studio and DC Studios, but then they could also sell even more money just that broadcasting part. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and there was a lot of back and forth. Paramount was not backing down. They tried doing a hostile takeover. They tried, flipping the shareholders. They tried, or the board meetings, I should say. They tried getting the board members to turn, and it didn't work. They failed yet again, and it seemed like the Netflix was really going to roll through with the deal with Warner Brothers. And I have a lot of opinions on that, because I would rather just have Warner Brothers stay its own separate entity. They've been crushing it. 2025 was a big year for them. They had hit after hit after hit after hit, and they actually had a streak going of the most over $500 million grossing movies throughout, until one battle after another came out, which didn't do as much money wise, but I mean, it's an Oscar nominee, so there's that. So yeah, Warner Brothers has been hitting it out of the park. James Gunn and Peter Safran are leading the DC studios. Although I'm not a huge fan of Superman, the movie did fairly well for the budget that they had and for turning the DC universe around. There's also been some other shows and stuff like that. I forgot to mention HBO would be a part of this deal. But yeah, I would rather just Warner Brothers stay by itself, but they are open to court and to have a relationship with somebody else. And it looks like Netflix is in the lead. And the reason why I'm not a big fan of Netflix in that regard is, one, Netflix is garbage. They're an algorithm data first kind of company in which they just put out slop and slop and slop and slop, and they're the reason why movie theaters are dying even quicker. They've been known to say that they don't care about theatrical releases, yet they whine and complain when their movies don't get nominated for Oscars, even though the movies don't meet the criteria, because they put them on streaming first and then put them only in select theaters in order to meet the requirements. It's a whole thing. And then also on top of that, there's the AI components and all of that fun stuff. So at first I was very anti-Netflix taking over Warner Brothers, but then even more drama happened between this love triangle, and now I would much rather Netflix have it over Paramount, because at least Netflix is promising, at least they're saying for now, they can always change their mind, that they want Warner Brothers to stay its own thing. Yes, technically they own them, but they would let Warner Brothers kind of manage their own movies and still do theatrical releases. They said that they weren't going to touch that. They are trying to expand into the theatrical market, not try to take it over and put everything on streaming, but only time will tell in that regard. Paramount tried to put in another offer, but once again, Warner Brothers refused it, and then they also wanted to state that they just don't trust Paramount, that they could be a very litigious company. They could say one thing and then in the middle of negotiations or after signing the contract change things and then try to sue to get more things changed, and they're just kind of skeptical about Paramount in that regard. So after Warner Brothers came out and were like, no, Paramount could be very litigious, they are also, just not trustworthy, what does Paramount do? Yeah, they're suing Warner Brothers now and whining. A lot of rich business people do this, especially our Orange Raisin in the Oval Office. He's a very litigious person, and so if he's best buddies with Larry Ellison, it just seems like this just makes perfect sense. You don't get your way, you whine, you complain, you sue, you keep trying to sue until you either get a settlement or try to get some money out of it to say that you win, and then rinse and repeat. Now, I can't say for sure whether it's David Ellison that's running this and he's just being a petulant man-child that is trying to pursue this studio and is not getting his way, which he's not used to, so he's throwing a tantrum, or it could be his daddy who has all the actual money that's kind of running this in the background. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to sit here and just do conspiracies all day, but yeah, that's the situation we're in, where you have Warner Brothers going to sleep with Netflix, but then you have Paramount that's trying to slide in to Warner Brothers DMs and get them to break up with Netflix and come over to them instead, but it is not working, and Warner Brothers rejects the proposition from Paramount, the DMs, leaving them on red, and so now you have Paramount is essentially stalking Warner Brothers and threatening them and being a very toxic stalker. So what does this have to do with Sonic the Hedgehog? Well, Paramount owns the Sonic the Hedgehog movie franchise, and we are patiently awaiting and anticipating Sonic Movie 4 to come out in March 2027 next year. And with all of this going on, it's kind of crazy to think, because Paramount's slate just for this year is very lackluster. The movies that they have coming out are not hitters, and so it's just very interesting that instead of focusing on putting out good quality content, they're over here struggling to get the attention of Warner Brothers. And I think a lot of that attention and distraction and hostile takeover could have a trickle-down effect when it comes to these upcoming movies in Paramount's pipeline. And if they keep being so focused and tunnel visioned on Warner Brothers, they're going to completely let everything else in the company fall to the wayside. Now, to be fair, there is a whole other creative team already working on the Sonic movie, and they've already been doing that, I think, even before Skydance took over Paramount. So it's already been well underway. I don't think it's going to delay anything or even cancel the movies, but I do think there could be some sort of trickle-down effect later down the line. I think for multiple reasons, it's worst case scenario if Paramount does acquire Warner Brothers, whether it be the orange raisin steps in and just makes it happen, or what have you, because they're going to be offering a lot of money, and I think that money is going to mean, cutting budgets, cutting staff, and all of that at Paramount, which could, once again, like I said, have that trickle-down effect for not just the Sonic movie production, but just all productions that they're currently working on and in development with. Now, personally, I think the biggest issue would be a complete, takeover of news broadcasting. I think that's the biggest red flag and far more important than the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. But this is a Sonic channel, so I'm just going to focus on that for now instead. I'm not 100% sure how budgeting and legal works and how that trickles over into the production side of films. I'm assuming they have separate buckets in which they have a whole legal department with their own budgetary stuff, so it won't affect, for example, this lawsuit that they're doing with Warner Brothers. If they lose, then if they have to pay a lump sum of money or whatever, lawyer fees, whatever happens in the corporate side, I'm not too familiar, that won't be pulled out of, the Sonic the Hedgehog budget or the film production budget, I don't think. My top main concern is quality. I want Sonic Movie 4 to be bigger and better than Sonic Movie 3, which I think was absolutely amazing. It was peak, it was cinema. Was it the best movie of all time? No. Did it have its flaws? Yes. But as a Sonic fan, I do have bias, and I think that's okay. It's way better than the, nominees for the Game Awards movies, all of them basically. And it's better than Minecraft, it's better than the Mario Bros. Movie, it's better than Five Nights at Freddy's 2, way better than Five Nights at Freddy's 2. That's actually a really good video topic that I could probably break down later. What Sonic movies do better than the Five Nights at Freddy's movies, because they're both video game movies that have a really big audience, but the Sonic movies try to capture both the fans and the casual viewers, whereas Five Nights at Freddy's, they just don't care about casual fans. They just wanted the fans of the video game franchise to be happy. And they were. If you look at Rotten Tomatoes, it's like Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is at a 17% critic, and then an 86%, audience, which is all of the fans, which is insane to me. But yeah, that's where Sonic takes the lead, is because it's a movie that anyone can enjoy, whether you're a hardcore fan or not. I'm just hoping that that quality stays the same for Sonic Movie 4, and it's bigger and even better than Sonic Movie 3, and that all of these external things happening with studio drama doesn't trickle down and affect not only the staff, but the movie quality itself. I don't think, knock on wood, it would to a degree that I'm thinking of, but you never know in today's time and era what will happen. It would definitely affect the future products within the Sonic movie franchise universe, where they were thinking about spin-offs for Paramount Plus. They're thinking about doing a Universal Avengers level movie, an animated movie, and stuff like that. That all could be deeply affected by this deal, because those haven't even gone into production yet, to my understanding, or at least they're in pre-production So if that's the case and Paramount loses a bunch of stuff, whether it's the lawsuit, it's Warner Brothers, even if they get Warner Brothers and they have to pay a really big amount of money, then yeah, those future projects could be deeply affected by the overall impact of the company. So that's where the concern is as it relates to Sonic. Like I said, there's other bigger macroeconomic and political concerns, but we are not a political channel here. We try to be inclusive to everyone, creed, race, religion, political background, what have you. But I'm also, once again, like I said at the beginning of the video, not going to censor myself for certain people's sensitivities. I believe we all have the right to our own beliefs and opinions, whether we believe the administration is doing a great job or doing a terrible job. I could not care what you think in that regard. I can only care about what I think and my opinion on what's going on in the world, more specifically the United States, which is where I live, whereas some of you are in Canada or the UK and you really could not care less about the political side of these things. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that in today's video, kind of encompass the whole background of what's going on with Paramount in case you've seen it in headlines or in passing by news. And if you're like, I wonder what that's going to do for the Sonic movie franchise. In reality, I don't think it's going to have a macro, impact, but it would have micro impacts here and there. So yeah, there's a love triangle going on between Paramount and Netflix and Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers has chosen Netflix, but Paramount is very big, mad, and salty about it. So they are trying every avenue they can to, change the playing field and acquire Warner Brothers, whether Warner Brothers wants them or not. And then there's, of course, the political ties to that and the ramifications for that, and the other, movie-related, Sonic movie-related things that are all connected at the very end of the thread. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you care about this feud between Paramount, Netflix, and Warner Brothers? Do you think that there is a positive outcome out of this? Do you want Paramount to take Warner Brothers? Do you want Netflix to take Warner Brothers? Or are you like myself and wish that Warner Brothers would just stay by itself? I'm very curious to see your guys' thoughts and opinions down below. Let's keep it respectful. As you guys know on this channel, especially when it comes to Sonic stuff, you can have different opinions and still be a human being about it and treat other people like human beings. So I also encourage that for this topic as well. Depending on your political leanings, things might go a certain way, your opinions might change, but we must still be respectful. And if you are not respectful, then I'm just going to ignore you. With that being said, I'm OCDsaster, and I hope you have a super Sonic rest of your day. See ya.